We wearing the same thing. Kinda. Woo! I like your necklace. What?
What the hell? Why are you wearing also a round gold medallion and a black shirt?
Because I wanted to let you know we're in tune.
You're killing me, Larry. Welcome back to Life in the New Normal podcast, y'all. For those of you listening and who can't see Dina, she is once again wearing exactly what I'm wearing. We don't plan this, y'all. We don't talk ahead of time. It just happens because, you know, Miss Psychic Italian 2023 over there up in Italy is channeling some clothing or something.
That's right.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm keeping fresh in this heat.
Yes. Oh my God. It is that time of year where it's just like schwitzy.
You know what though? I will say this. I am so happy I don't get my period anymore.
Yeah, well,
because you know when you get hot around like your period. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I do.
But you're younger.
I know exactly how it feels, Dina. Anyway, I was just about to complain also about my hair being flat in this heat and humidity. And then I remembered what our topic was today. So I guess I will retract my statement. Mm-hmm. So y'all, today we're talking about body positivity, eating to be healthy, not full. Yes, because they're, especially I think after, well, I mean, can we blame 2020 for everything? Because I feel like it's got a lot to speak to. Everybody went through so much, you know, and I know that a lot of people suffered severe depression and anxiety on top of already feeling some insecurities and stuff around that, and then the isolation, and we certainly saw a huge rise in teen suicides and all kinds of anxiety disorders. So, Dina, you suggested this topic today, and I thought it was a great idea. And I had a feeling maybe your spidey senses were tingling around some things you wanted to bring up.
Well, they were actually. I had to get my glasses clear for this one so I can speak clearly, because what I was thinking is not just body positivity, and you know how that term intuitive eating is a little popular right now and everything like that. And intuitive eating really is about asking your body what it needs and then giving it and then trying not to overeat. But I would like to add on to intuitive eating, kind of like the intuitive part for me, what I learned in 2020, because I'm learning to redefine my relationship with food and drinking and whatever else it may be, is that I feel like intuitive eating for me personally is also about not eating my feelings and not eating like my emotions and my anger or my stress or so it's like when I go to grab food, it's not, oh, what do I feel like? Oh, I feel like this. No, are you grabbing food? How are you feeling?
Yeah, but why else would I grab chocolate tofu mousse?
Because you're desperate and you're on PMS, right?
There's
but
that.
I'm just saying, in general, a lot of times we stress eat or emotional eat, and we don't interrupt the pattern, right? And so we will justify giving ourselves a drink on a Friday after a long, hard week of work, and then be like, I earned this, I deserve this, so I'm going to stop by McDonald's on the way home and then go get a bottle of wine, right?
At McDonald's?
So, no, right?
That's
or
bad
a box,
wine, y'all.
a box wine. And so for me, during COVID and being alone, I really learned about like what was making me feel good, what wasn't, or saying, hey, like you can eat this now, but the ramifications you're going to deal with this after are going to be you're not going to feel good, you're not going to. So yesterday I got a little tiny chocolate ball, and without thinking, I stuck it in my mouth. Of course, Ashley, I stuck a ball in my mouth, and
something different.
So. And so,
or
I don't
not.
know, within like an hour, I started feeling the thwarting in my back. And it didn't occur to me that that little chocolate ball would have gluten. Clearly it did. And it was like, it's not worth it. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I've been able
and probably
to get through.
refined sugar.
Yes, but the
Girl.
gluten for me gives me more physical pain
Yeah.
than that tiny little bit. Like the
Yeah.
gluten for me will make it feel like there is a cactus thwarting on my back, and it's
Yeah.
like a specific pain, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's just not worth it to me anymore. It's and so that for me also what is intuitive eating is like it's like is it worth this in order to feel that? Do you see what
Right.
I'm saying? So
Well, yeah,
I
you're
think it's
very gluten
important.
sensitive for sure. So I
Very,
get that,
very.
but but also, I mean, I get it. Sometimes we just, even if we're not having a rough day, sometimes you just have a craving and you're like, well, why can't I have a little bit of that, you know? And you can have a little bit, but like when we stopped drinking, I know that instantly my body went to, okay, well, where's the chocolate?
Totally, totally. Well, and look, we
You got to
always want to
replace
put
it with
something.
something.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to learn not to do.
Well, I think it's a
Right?
process though too, depending on where you are. Like for me in particular, the drinking, I actually, a lot of the speakers that I listened to and things I read said you should replace it with something in the beginning because sometimes breaking those habits is so hard. You
Uh
have
huh.
to, and you just go to like the next level of whatever's healthier. And instead of grabbing wine, I mean, not that chocolate's healthier, but I had to kick that habit and that craving
Yeah,
first. So
of
then I started
course.
craving chocolate for a while, and then I replaced the chocolate with healthier chocolate.
Okay,
You
and
know, now
so
we do
I.
the pure cacao with maybe the natural sweeteners and so on and so forth. But and then I try to reduce that. And there are certain times of the month I don't crave it at all. It is
Yeah.
around the period that's like, girl, you better get out my way because I will bust down your door to get that chocolate
Totally.
in my face.
Totally.
Like, do not pass
But
go, do not collect 200. I'm coming for you.
uh-huh. Well, and I will say though, I grew up in a household where clearly not everyone had a great relationship with food,
Mm-hmm.
and so it wasn't a strange thing to eat three bagels in one sitting, and it wasn't, So I've always been an excessive
Mm-hmm.
eater,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to not keep transferring addictions because for me personally it's like okay I go from alcohol to sugar and then from sugar to gluten and then for it dominoing so it's like well what is finally going to fix it all, right?
Sure. I mean, you have
And
to start
so
weaning yourself back too, but in the beginning, I'm just saying if you've done it for 50 years or 20
yes,
or 10, you know, you got to
totally.
start somewhere, but give yourself a limit as to like, okay, I'm going to do this for a while and then if that works. You may know a better way. Tell me what
No,
you
no,
think
it's not that I know a better way, but
or
for
what works for
me,
you.
since
Uh-huh.
I've been practicing this, I've really had to feel my emotions. So I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing, but there
Yes.
are times when I'm like, well, I want to eat this because so and so hurt my feelings and fuck them and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when before I would just sort of watch reality TV and just take down a bunch of food. I just have replaced that now with fruit or with certain
Yes.
things or, so I'm learning, but it's
Well,
a
but let's talk
process.
about why that is. You know, it's like because those foods release a dopamine, right? Because they
Hmm.
taste good and there's something we can control. When we're in situations that we feel out of control, we want something that we can control, and sadly what we can control is yummy food going in our mouth.
Well, and when you're not feeling
Right?
good, to stick something that is feeling good in your
Yes.
mouth is
Exactly.
takes it right away, right? Takes it
Right.
out of there right away. But then you're left with the food hangover, the
Mhm.
guilt, the berating yourself, the
Yeah.
all of that,
Right.
and I just don't want to do that anymore. So many times in therapy, my therapist would say things that haunt me till this day of like, Dina, losing weight is the easy part. Keeping it off is the difficult part. And I would be like, what? And
Mhm.
he'd be like, well, maintaining a healthy weight. And I will honestly say, a lot of times I would go on diets, I would lose a tremendous amount of weight, and then I would think I could eat like a skinny person.
Right.
And then
It's
it's
not how
just,
that
I would
works.
always
Yeah.
gain it back, right?
Right.
So this time, I'm like, there is no way that that is going to happen to me again. So I'm going to do the work along the way,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me a good 4 years to release the significant amount of weight. But my hopes is that in the 4 years that it's taken me, I'm learning to re-eat. I'm learning to, uh, reevaluate why I eat the way I eat and all of these things. And so it's a very different feeling for me.
Yeah, you totally are doing a great job. You are
Thank
learning and
you.
doing differently,
Thank
and
you.
I
I'm
think that,
trying.
well, and you are, and you have the desire to. It's like if I didn't have the desire to be healthy, none of this would work. No diet would work. Nothing would
For
work.
sure.
I mean, I think it
For
has to
sure.
start with you really wanting to take control of your health, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
but I think that people, a lot of folks that I know, and even me for a long time, didn't know where to start because we're raised in households where, just like you said, the norm is if you're not feeling good, here, let me make you something that's going to make you feel better, food wise. I mean,
You
I had
want
a
some ice
grandmother,
cream? You don't feel good? You want some ice cream? You
right?
sad? Let's go get a piece of cake, you
Exactly.
know?
We're taught that as children, it's a quick way, and maybe it was just our parents trying to shut us up. I don't know. It's
Yes.
like, always the treats revolved around ice cream cakes, something but your favorite
Mm-hmm.
meal, whatever it may be. And that's still a lovely thing to do. I mean, food and eating is one of the finer pleasures of life for sure. But
Yes.
I think there's a way to replace those foods with healthier, as you and I are learning
Mm-hmm.
on Life in the New
Mm-hmm.
Normal Cafe. Like, that's all we do there, y'all. If you're struggling because you think it's hard, come watch two idiots show you how easy it can be and fun and delicious. I mean, that's why we're doing this, is to
Yes.
help people
Uh-huh.
who think that eating healthy is hard. So,
Yes.
and Dina, thank you
It's a
for all the
it's
amazing recipes you come up with,
You're
because
welcome.
you help me keep healthy food in my fridge since I
Yeah.
have to do that.
Oh wait, another tip what I've learned, which I know people are going to think this sounds really strange, but just bear with me. Coming from the States and then moving to a foreign country,
Uh-huh.
of course, our food habits are very different. And as an American, I don't know if you're a household, but in my household, I always felt comfortable when the refrigerator was filled up with food,
Mm-hmm.
because I come from food insecurity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, then you don't have to go out for another week, then you don't have to blah, blah. Well, here in Europe, they go to the market like every other day
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a lot of waste. So when I had come home a couple weeks ago and my power had went out and all the stuff was bad in the refrigerator, I took that as an opportunity to go, okay, the universe thinks I still have more to learn. So I got rid of all the condiments. Well, had to because everything was bad, right? So I'm changing the way I put things
You
in my
didn't tell me that part,
refrigerator.
Dina.
What about the
The
condiments?
condiments.
Well, you have to if it
Oh, I
went
thought you meant you
moldy,
had bought
right?
unhealthy ones, not that they
Oh, no,
turned.
no,
Oh,
no.
oh, I'm
Everything that
sorry.
was
I'm
already
sorry.
in the
I see.
refrigerator. And so even if I had stuff from before, it was
Yeah,
still all sitting in there.
yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to buy new condiments other than mustard. And
Right.
and then I'm going to change the way I stuff that refrigerator because
Mm-hmm.
so much went bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this wouldn't have happened if I was a European eater, right? So I'm now eating what I have in my refrigerator, and when that is gone, is when I go to the market again, which is new for me. And it forces you to eat what you have, even if it's just a bag of salad and some celery, and because that may not be what you're in the mood for, but that's what you have, and you don't want it to go to waste, right? I can't tell you how many times I've thrown away bags of salads because I had other options to eat in the
Really.
refrigerator. So
Uh-huh.
for me, that is a different approach, and it also seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, I keep things in my freezer, of course, for those like backup moments, but
Of course.
I mean, that is such a European thing because when I'm in London or anywhere in Europe, there's markets on every corner almost, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to walk down the street, and I love that
Mm-hmm.
about Europe. And when I was there, I went to
Yes.
the market every other day and just figured out what I wanted for dinner that night. It's so
Mm-hmm.
lovely. But here in the
Yeah.
States, where you have to drive several miles to the grocery store, I feel like I don't know if that's makes, you know, time sense. So,
See,
but
well,
I do grab like a weekly shopping, but I don't try to overbuy. I try to buy stuff that I'm going to eat,
mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty
Well,
good
and
about
that's
it.
what I was doing though, living in here, and it didn't make sense because I was still keeping that same mentality, right?
Oh,
And it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, wait, so let me adjust
I see.
because I did walk to the store,
Uh-huh.
right? And I
Uh-huh.
did get some other stuff, and I did get like, I mean, I got two pieces of fruit and some bananas, and I was
Mhm.
like, when I eat this, I will come back for more.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Right. And so, because I find myself the opposite of, I got to eat this now before it goes bad because I had bought so much.
Mhm. That's a good
And
point.
so, but that is the me who is always afraid of never having enough. What if I'm hungry? What if I run out? Or I don't want to be inconvenienced. And no matter what, I always threw food away. And it always was too
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
And so I'm learning to sort of eyeball it different. I am one person, and I'm sure I could find things in the cabinet like cans of beans or something to make
Mhm.
if I was in an emergency, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so it's just that food addiction. I
Mhm.
have a food addiction. And so and then I learned with the food addiction, it's like even eating that chocolate ball yesterday, I knew better, but I was like, yeah, but I want it. And how much is that going to hurt? And how we'll justify and how we'll, instead of just saying like Dina or talking to myself, why are you doing that,
Mhm.
what's your, you know what I mean? And so it's the intuitive eating, and then you add on to the intuitive eating,
Mhm.
right? And so because some people are like, well, I know I'm feeling like crap, and of course I want to eat something, because okay, but how many times do we do that in a week, or how many times do you do that in a day, or how many times do you reach for something bad when you're something bad to eat when you're feeling bad? It can't be all the time for everything.
Well, let's talk about the deeper level of that too. So we talked about that we
Mm-hmm.
grew up with that, so that's what we think is normal, right? Hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
But the deeper
Mm-hmm.
level of that is we also think that it's love on some level, like you're giving yourself love or you're receiving love. Like that's how people showed their love a lot of ways growing up, and maybe that was the only way they knew how to show love to their kids or their grandkids. I mean, my grandmother was certainly that way. She was not a warm person, but she always made us cakes. And so that's how we knew grandma loved us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that that's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that people have to sort of step back and recognize that there's a lot of different ways that we can receive love. And if that's what you identify as being loved, maybe look at that and start looking, can you fill that space with other things in your life or start to accept that differently? Maybe you can elaborate more on that. I don't know where I'm headed
No,
with
no,
that.
or also too,
But do you know what I'm
let's
saying?
say, yeah, or
You're
like let's
eating
say
for
if
a
you were
deeper
at a,
reason. It's never just about the piece of food.
for sure, but then also like also in the States, if your team won in soccer or softball, the coach took you for pizza.
Right.
And everyone wanted pizza,
Yep.
and everyone, so it wasn't just if you were feeling bad, it was
Yeah.
also if you did
Celebrations.
good.
Happy
And so
birthday.
it
Here's your
all was
sugar.
linked up to. And so it's like, well, would I love it if someone said, "Let's go, I'll take you to the movies instead of this," or
Uh-huh.
what if we replaced it
We can
instead
get
of
Junior
like
Mints and popcorn.
right? Oh
I'm
my
just
God, I love that in the popcorn when
I
the
know.
popcorn's a little
I know.
warm, and oh, it's so good.
Uh,
And so I
nope.
just everything, so now it's so interesting to me because I don't reach for the food anymore, and it's just becoming natural that I'm healing. And
Yes.
so I give myself different, things, or a cute shirt, or a cute outfit, or maybe some new makeup, or some
Take
craft,
yourself outside and have a
yeah,
nice walk. Yeah. You know why?
totally.
Because we are learning in this healing process, and this is the type of thing you only know when you start to do it and experience it, is
Mhm.
that it feels good to feel good, right? Did Gabby Bernstein say
Yes.
that? I don't know, but I've found that
Yes.
it feels good to feel good. And the more you
Mhm.
heal and the more steps you sort of take, you feel good, you feel healthy, you're clearer. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Totally, because there are times like this summer where it's been like really hot. I'm just uncomfortable. I would have loved a glass of wine just to deal with
Oh,
things or just to fall asleep to or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? There's no getting out of this feeling. Let's just turn off the lights and go to bed early.
right.
And that's the gift I give to myself is an early night's sleep
Same.
or is going to bed without overeating or allowing myself to just feel instead of putting something on it or having to cover it up,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
same. And
And
I've gotten to where I love my mornings. It's cooler, it's peaceful. I
mm-hmm,
can get my little creative things done or my little personal journaling or whatever, and with my coffee or sit outside or, it's just
mm-hmm.
lovely before all the daily deluge starts of everybody coming
Yeah,
in at you. So it is nice because at night
totally.
all I do is sit around and watch TV or whatever. And it's like there's only so much of some of those episodes I really need to
To-
watch.
totally. And also, it's like, wait, what did I do my whole life when I sat at home? Eating was the pleasure and drinking,
I drank. I would
you
sit up
know?
and and
Yeah.
that was my reward at night. I would sit up and have 3 glasses of wine until I felt tired, and watch whatever's on TV or
Mm-hmm.
I'd talk on the phone or whatever and then go to bed. But you're right. I do the same thing now. It's like after dinner, I'll have like an hour where I sort of decompress and then I'll want to be in bed and start to
Yeah,
chill.
totally. And I love that for myself. I love that I am able now to know the difference. Like before if I would get a little buzz, I would like to stay up late because I didn't want to go to sleep and miss the feeling. I wanted
Right.
to enjoy the feeling of
Yeah.
being buzzed, right?
Yep.
So then you'd stay up late a little bit longer.
Yep.
And then I loved eating when I was buzzed. I
Well, there's
loved
that.
eating
The longer
food,
you stay
tasted
up, it's
better to
been
me.
5 hours since you had dinner and you got to eat again.
Totally. And then watching a good show, and then it just felt so good.
Anything is
And
good when you're
now
when
I'm
you're
like,
buzzed.
the gift I give myself is I turn on the air condition. I feel super cold and I like to sleep in crispy sheets. And then I'm like, oh, this is so good. And I'm so happy for myself. And so that's what I give to myself now. You know what I mean? And so it's very different from who I used to be. So sometimes I don't even recognize myself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, girl, you are so different. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is like
Same.
amazing. And then I get nervous for what I'm gonna do when I have a partner or somebody else that they love to eat and do all these things and they're not in the same space that I am, right? Because a lot of people, which I've learned for me,
Mm-hmm.
is they don't like going out to dinner with me because I don't eat a lot now.
Same.
And they're like, well, it's no fun. You don't eat and you don't drink. And it's like, but I'm still just as funny and
Uh-huh.
entertaining and great company, but I think it makes them feel self conscious of what they should be doing for themselves. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
I think
but
so.
why you got to take it out on me?
Right,
Like, it's
right.
just not cool. So, like, means like, so I can't, they're like, but it's just no fun. And it's just, I go, but am I any less fun? Well, I'm still engaging in conversation. I don't make a big deal out of it. I'm not just sitting there. I will pick, I will do, but they still don't want it.
Yeah,
So it's like, it makes me feel weird, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it.
right. Same. Yeah, because they want someone to imbibe with them. It's like, and I
Mm-hmm.
get it. It's totally fine. I mean, you and I have already talked about this. We've been learning that as we evolve and grow, our friendship circles also evolve and change and grow differently. And I welcome
Mm-hmm.
that. We'll find those people that makes sense with. I mean, I certainly follow other podcasts that have healthy people on them that say the exact same thing. They just
Yes.
the evenings don't mean as much to them anymore because they don't want to stay up and put alcohol into their body until the wee hours. So, it
Yes.
changes.
Or sugar,
Or
or like
sugar
I
or
love
gluten.
ice cream, or I love like,
Sure.
and I'm like, what is this gonna, like, yes, it does taste good and it is amazing, but the hangover for me afterwards with the sugar, with all of the above, it fucks with my emotional state. It makes me
Yes.
feel bad. It makes me like, it's so interesting to me about the intuitive eating and everything. Do you know that majority of my life, I will say 90% of my life was taken up by me stressing about a diet how thin I was, if I was or wasn't thin. I hated summer because I hated the fact that you had to be seen in a bathing
Right.
suit. I was never comfortable if there was crowds
Mm-hmm.
of people because of my weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and now I have so much time in my brain because none of that is a thing. And I'm not even used to it yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, wait, what else do I think about now that that isn't a thing anymore? And emotionally, I have so many other things that I had literally sort of ignored because all I did was obsess about the weight.
Right.
And all I did was obsess about if I was enough because of the weight. It's so interesting that we think all of our problems are going to be gone when we release the weight or release the drink or whatever. No, it
Or gain
actually
weight.
just
It could go the other way
ex-
too for people who feel the extreme
exactly.
opposite.
Well, but then it just opens everything up about, okay, so you spent all this time feeling like this for so long, but what about this area and this area and that area? So now I'm able to see things through a much clearer picture,
Well, that's what I
and I'm
was.
able to.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
what I'm sorry. No, that I was about to say too is let's talk about what we're not doing when we're focusing on those things because we've all been there at some point for a few
Hmm.
minutes. I mean, to some different degrees, of course, but I think it's just in your 20s especially or your teens or whatever, it is all about the way people look. It is all about
Yes.
who's hot. It is
Yes.
all about whatever whatever.
Yes.
And I feel like we just fall into these patterns of behaving accordingly, following what the standard quo is because that's where we are in life and we want to attract
Hmm.
a hot partner and we do what we got to do. If we don't
Hmm.
wake up and shake out of that sometimes and recognize that some of those behaviors that we're doing are extremely unhealthy for us, that can lead to some pretty dangerous circumstances or, too much weight on you for long periods of time can lead to like morbidity. There is such a thing as morbidly obese, you know?
Uh-huh.
It can lead to, as you know,
Hmm.
all kind of health problems. But the same goes for not eating enough.
Hmm.
So you got to find that healthy balance in there. But the things that we're missing out of, I think sometimes, like you were saying, we focus on those things so much about our body and what we can do to make ourselves look good that we forget, wait, what do I actually want to do with myself? What do I want to create? What do I want to spend my time learning and doing that would really light me up and be fun? Because I find and I found when I started focusing on that stuff, all that other shit started to fall away. It's
Hmm.
like different priorities come into play. And then you want to be healthier because you want to be able to support yourself enough to be able to do all these things you want to do. I wanted to travel and I wanted to travel
Yeah.
alone and I didn't have health insurance and I was like, if I'm going to go all over the world, I'd better make sure that I'm really healthy because if I get sick in a foreign country, it's going to be really hard. So I want to give my body every tool possible to be able to fight. I was traveling during COVID.
Totally. Yes, totally.
You know what I mean? So my
Yes.
priorities shifted.
Hmm. And my priorities have shifted as well. And it's amazing how all of that chatter, 90% of it isn't
Mm-hmm.
true. And it's like, it had never occurred to me if the other people liked me or didn't like me thin or this way or that way. And it's like, now I also have to look at my part in relationships. Am I giving enough? Am I asking enough questions?
Yeah.
Because when you're thinking about your weight incessantly and constantly, you become a little selfish and self-involved. And when really people just want to spend time with you,
Well,
people just want to know about you. They want to, you know what I mean?
they do. And think about what you're offering up to a partner, too, because if you're focusing all just on your weight, I mean, it's nice to have a thin, sexy body or whatever that person wants. Maybe they want a voluptuous body, but
Hmm.
give them a healthy partner because I've dated those people. I've been that person. I'm not going to allow somebody into my life as my romantic partner now
Hmm.
who isn't healthy because I don't want to have to worry about them being sick in a certain way or taking care of them down the road. That's not
Oh,
fair
yeah.
to me. It's not fair
No.
to you. It's not fair to, you know what I mean? So think
Hmm.
about what you're really giving them when your
Hmm.
thoughts are only on that because it's not the full picture.
Well, and two, also think about why every diet fails or why you can never get it. Because have you really looked at the deeper, like you were talking about, reasons why you are consuming such a large amounts of food or sweets or alcohol or whatever? Have you
Mm-hmm.
looked at why and what's that connected to, and have you ever tried to fix it?
Yeah.
Because this is the first time in my life, yeah, I've been in therapy a very long time, but sure, I talked about my problems, and then even after therapy I would go and eat something something
Sure.
bad or whatever, because you're just feeling like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that was gnarly, right? And so it's just, I've never not given in before in my life to all of those impulses.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I sort of go, okay, well, let's wait a minute. Let's see if it passes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Mm-hmm.
the other day I felt myself like, I'd never ordered delivery here, so I went on this app and I was like, let me see if anything delivers gluten free, blah 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 blah
Good
blah.
luck.
And I was so close. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't find anything, but I was so close. But I was desperate, and I remembered it was like this whole ceremonious thing of like the high of looking for the food, the high
Yeah.
of finding the food, the high of knowing the food was on the way, the high of like, okay, I shouldn't spend this $40, but I'm gonna do it because I'm. And then after you eat the food, it's like bleh. So I
Mm-hmm.
got all the excitement doing the whole thing, and then it just never happened, and then I was over it, right? And it was just like, meh, okay, like I went
That
through
would
the
drive
whole
me
thing for like
crazy.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, listen, what could I do? And so there's nothing I could do. I tried. It was funny. I found humor in it,
Yeah,
right?
and I
And
mean,
so
you see these restaurants are popping up left and right because vegan is becoming more of a trendy thing for, quite frankly,
mhm.
all the weird, not even real reasons, I think, because a lot of that vegan food still isn't healthy. So we still
Yes, of
have to be
course.
very careful with it. And I'm following a lot of these restaurants and watching what they do. And I get excited every time I see it pop up and I'm like, oh, a vegan restaurant I can go to that looks really cool and has all this stuff. And then you look at the way they're preparing it and it's not gluten free. They're using all the refined sugar or they're using unhealthy substitutes for the, you
Mhm.
know, and it's like, damn it. So we're not talking about that. We're not talking about, we're talking about healthy, and that doesn't just mean these food substitutes. You really have to figure out what works for your body because, like Dina, you're super gluten sensitive. So
Yes.
you can't eat even the same things I can eat. I don't eat gluten either because it doesn't. I don't
Mhm.
feel it immediately when I eat it the way you do. But
Mhm.
I have Hashimoto's, so I have to watch it for growths in my
Mhm.
thyroid. So I stay away from it because it causes inflammation. We've learned that. We know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
lucky you live in Europe where the gluten is not as much, I think, as
No,
it
it's
is in
not
the
as much. You're
States.
absolutely right.
I mean, y'all,
Uh-huh.
the USDA, I'm sorry, but they do not look out for us the way they should. There are so many chemicals and food additives that are allowed in the States that are banned in Europe and the UK and other parts of the world. And it's like, nobody tells us this stuff. It's
No, one time we should
crazy.
do an episode where we get the same ingredients and you and I read our ingredients off of, because
Ooh.
even like ketchup, it's
Exactly.
in Italy it's literally like five
Yeah.
ingredients to ketchup,
Yeah.
and in the States it's like 26
Right.
ingredients.
Cost effective. They do it for money because it gives the products a longer shelf life and it gives it more
Mhm.
filler if they can make it taste the same way and it's cheaper for them to produce. That's messed up,
Mhm.
y'all.
It's really
That's
messed
really
up.
messed up.
It's
So,
really messed up, and it takes a lot of unlearning all of the
mm-hmm.
things we
Yeah.
learned. Like I remember
Yeah.
being so ignorant, going like, what do you mean, like when clean eating first came out, or like clean products or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what do you mean like clean, like la, 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 like I was taught the stronger the chemical, the better it's going to clean, or the whatever
Right.
it may be, right? And so
Right.
now it's like in Europe those chemicals are illegal.
Yeah.
Like when my ex got a can of paint once, like this big, to paint our bedroom, I was like, dude, that is not going to paint our bedroom. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was so annoyed. I didn't realize you mix it with 4 gallons of water,
Hmm.
and it literally dries in 20 minutes, and you don't have to not be in your house for 3 days because of the
Wow.
chemicals, because there are laws in place,
Wow.
right?
That's
And
so
so
cool.
now
Imagine
I'm
a government that
so
protects you. Huh. What does that feel like?
right. Girl, someone's gonna be knocking at your door in
I don't
like 30
care.
minutes.
Come on, bring it, fuckers. Sorry. It pisses me off though, and
But
it's like if you're in the like let's say the baby boomer generation, I feel sorry for a lot of people
mhm,
who were raised when things were made and processed differently, they were a little more healthy, because they don't
mhm,
understand why we're making such a
yeah,
big fuss about this, and why they can't eat these things, and why all of their friends are all of a sudden dying of cancer. You know?
totally.
It's like
Well,
they don't understand it. But so if you're
and I will tell
lucky
you, I
enough to be
was
a younger generation where you're seeing, good for you.
Um,
Learn
well,
and do differently.
to I was talking to my niece about this the other day, and we went through the app that you and I always talk about, the
Yes.
Yuka, and then she does an app called Something Dirty,
Uh-huh.
and it's the same thing. And then she went into a makeup store,
Uh-huh.
and she said to the lady's like, "Oh, why are you going to change that?" And she goes, "Because it says endocrine disruptor." And the lady goes, "Well, it's not going to bother you. It's not like you're bathing in it." And she goes, "Well, I would love to disagree."
Right.
She goes, "Because I am. Our body washes,
Yeah.
our shampoos,
Yeah.
our primers, our makeups, our everything I use has these ingredients in
Yeah.
it. So I am actually bathing in it."
Right.
Right? But then we are also taught with that, "Oh, please, it's not like you're bathing in it." We're all dismissed like that.
We are.
Like,
The
"Oh, but
shampoos, the
gaslit."
conditioners, the body wash, the
Totally.
lotions, all of them have the
Mm-hmm.
soap you use on your body, you're right, the makeups, the things we put on, anything we put on our face or around our neck and our thyroid, these are glands. These are, disrupting your endocrine system. Exactly. It's like
Totally. And even
they're right
you said
there,
it
or
to
your
me,
brain.
right? Well, and you said it to me when I had switched from one foundation because I had seen someone
Hmm.
about a cheaper one that was just as good to a from an expensive one to a not so expensive one. And it doesn't mean that the more expensive ones are any better. It's just a clean thing. And then you had said something to me of like about my allergies, how
Hmm.
I am constantly
Yes.
like this. And it was when I had switched to that cheaper one. And
Ah.
so it was like, oh, wait. Is it really worth the $30 less a month to constantly get and having
You
the
mean for you to
allergies and
be
the
able to
puff ups
breathe?
and the well, I'm just
I
saying,
know.
in the
Yeah, no,
sense,
I
it's
get
like
it.
it's cheaper, but you also get everything that goes along with it being
Right.
cheaper.
Right.
And
It's like
so,
the same conversation for your health. It's like people complain that eating healthy is more expensive, and it's like you're either going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later when you have
in
health
doctors,
problems and doctors
exactly,
and all of that stuff. So,
exactly,
I mean, y'all, I know it is
and that's
hard. It is
why.
hard though, because
Well,
it is expensive, but it doesn't have to be. So Dina
well,
and I are
so
here to show y'all some different stuff. I mean, we are starting to launch all kinds of different little content that will show you good replacements for these things, that will the makeups, all of these
yes,
soaps and products and stuff like that. We are starting to dive into that stuff. So y'all will start to get
it's
that too.
well, yeah, and it's really changed the way I think and the way I approach things for the health of me. So I'm not saying my parents didn't want the greatest health for me,
Of
but when you've
course.
got four kids
Right.
and you don't have a lot of money,
Right.
you're going to buy what's readily accessible, right? But
Absolutely.
what
You're in
I'm
survival mode
learning is
sometimes.
that for sure, but you can choose. So even sometimes I would rather go without than go with all of the side effects that I now notice, and so my brain is changing the way I approach it, because if no one's going to take care of me the way I am, or if someone's going to come see the way I take care of myself and then mimic that, a
Hmm.
partner or whatever, it's like I need to take care of myself because I'm the only one that is going to have the best interest of myself.
Exactly. And
And
I mean,
that's where
yeah, and
it
even
changes
if
because
you're in like survival mode, I feel like when you do have a lot of kids or several kids and you're just like, I just need to grab whatever's easiest. If you are willing to set aside just a little bit of time to do some meal prep, even if it's only 1 or 2 days a week, y'all,
hmm
lentils are $1 something a bag. They are so affordable, and they are full of protein and iron and so good for you. A little bit of greens.
hmm
Like you can buy dry, you know, different types of vegetables and whatnot, and just
hmm
spend a little bit of time, prepare them in bulk, and eat on them all week. And you don't have to eat McDonald's, eat things just because it appears on the surface to be cheaper and easier. You're going to pay for it other ways. is what we've
Well,
learned.
and what I've learned is getting off of the sugar is literally lessen the food chatter in my head, right? So my
Totally.
intuitive eating now is different than it was before in the sense of intuitively, I want to eat what's best for my body
Me too.
and what my body needs.
It
And
still wants some
before
tofu
I
mousse though.
wanted, right? And that's not bad for you.
Right?
But before I wanted to eat everything that was bad for me. Now,
Me
is that
too.
a coincidence or is that because it's addictive and it's bad for you and it keeps you addicted?
Absolutely. That, y'all, that refined sugar and that high fructose
Oh,
corn syrup, it screams to you when you're used to having it. And they put it in everything.
hmm
I guarantee you they put it in the french fries, the bread on those hamburgers. There's a little bit of that shit in everything because
and
the
everything that keeps you
ketchups,
addicted.
everything that keeps you addicted because you just get such a satisfy to your cravings, that you just crave it again and again and again and you want to keep coming back for it. They know that. They know that, y'all. They are
hmm
using you.
hmm
It's awful.
Totally.
It's awful.
Totally. And maple syrup, although there is sugar in it, it's a natural sugar. It still doesn't give me food chatter the
It
way
doesn't.
sugar did.
Mm-mm. It doesn't to
And
me
so
either. But
I
yeah.
feel just as good eating, and I've sometimes the other night I was like, "You're so naughty," and I was eating this like fruit cup, and I had put some sugar-free chocolate chips in it, and I was like, "That was my guilt meal," and I was like, "Look how far
Oh,
you've come! Like,
yeah.
look at how far you've come!" And I didn't have to gaslight myself and promise I was going to work out double the next day and promise I wasn't going to eat bad all week. I was like, you can have this, you earned it, like it's lovely, but still it was just like I don't have the bad emotional relationship that I had when I used to eat, how
Right.
I would have to justify why I was eating the way I was eating. And I promised I would eat later. I just eat what my body wants. And the choices that I make, I never have those guilt conversations with
Right.
myself in the way that I used to.
I also find that if you implement even a light exercise regimen just to start
Mm-hmm.
too, if you're in a place where you're like, I don't know where I'm going to start and I can't go straight to the gym and do all this stuff, just start walking. Start with
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day and slowly graduate. When you walk and your body starts to sweat and release toxins and all that stuff, you stop craving the bad stuff too. It's the
Oh yeah.
weirdest thing. It's like I never used to crave fruit, and now I crave fruit. Speaking of what
Me
you were
too.
saying,
That's so
like I
weird.
never
I
thought I would like it, and now I'm like, I really want a good piece of cantaloupe. What? Who are you? Where'd that come
right?
from? Who said that?
Yesterday I bought two big peaches and I was like my mouth was
Yeah,
watering thinking of the and today I went and got a little watermelon. I'm like I can't wait to make
yeah. Oh
juice
my God, the
out of this and
watermelon.
some watermelon.
The watermelon is
Right?
so good. I never used to like it. I would always turn
Uh,
that down and go for ice cream instead if I wanted a cool treat or something.
and
But
it's
it's
amazing and
fascinating.
I love
I do
it.
too, but
I'm
it's all what
so
you get
glad you
used
said
to.
that.
And your body will
Yeah.
literally start to tell you, I swear, if you start exercising a little bit, it'll be like, we don't want that because you feel it when you're walking, like you just don't feel as good if you've eaten that
Yes.
stuff.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's amazing.
Anyway,
I'm so glad you said that. It
yeah,
really is so powerful, you guys, in the senses. I will say this. It would have been more challenging for me if I was in the States around it all the time. But
yeah.
here in Italy, we don't have a
Oh,
lot of
well,
fast food. And so it's
yeah,
not an option. But I've also gotten used to that. But also, yes, they have aisles of crap.
yeah,
It's not like they don't have it. But I've just gotten so far on my healing journey, mentally, physically, all of the above, that for me, it's not worth it anymore because I've done so much suffering with my physical ailments. And emotionally, I don't get depressed like I used to.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I'll have down days, but the depression that used to just go like this from the dysregulated eating and the binging and the sugar and then the drinking and then when you're hungover, then the binging in the morning because you're feeling so hungover and then eating like crap. And now
yeah,
it's just like I have maybe some down days, maybe one or two, but it
yeah,
doesn't last very
right.
long, or I'll
Same.
have down hours. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
y'all can do it. It's just you've got to have the desire. You've got to want to be healthy. That's all
Yes.
there is to
You
it.
gotta wanna be healthy.
But yeah, and
telling you, it is
maybe
so.
Dina, you and I can chat afterwards and come up with some like healthy, affordable. I mean, we're doing that already on Life in the New Normal Cafe. We're
Yes.
doing the recipes, but I'm talking about individual ingredients that people can buy at the market. If they're like, well, I
Hmm.
don't know where to start because I think everything's expensive, and so they're just going straight to buying maybe things they
Yeah, or we
shouldn't,
can say, okay,
process.
instead of ice cream, we can give you a substitute. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the
Yeah.
frozen bananas, the mint chip in
Yeah.
the cafe, right?
Yep.
The mint, like there are so many things that we can sub out
Yeah.
that in the beginning you might go, ooh, ooh, but after a while you're like, oh man, I can
Yeah.
have double, triple the portion than I could with the other,
Right.
and it's still not going to be as bad. I
Yeah.
love that,
Yeah,
you
we'll give
know?
y'all some suggestions to at least start if you don't know where to start. So maybe that'll help,
Mm-hmm.
and affordable,
Yeah.
so you don't feel like you're spinning an arm and a leg, because that is hard. It's really hard when you're starting and you don't
Mm-hmm.
know where. And we're going to continue to do more recipes because, quite frankly, I still want to learn more recipes with tofu and with a lot of these healthy ingredients that we can use for
Uh-huh.
substitutes because I don't want to feel like I'm being deprived. Of course, I want to eat all the fun things. We're not saying we don't want to eat fun things.
Yeah, I totally, totally.
Yes.
But you learn to make fun things with the ingredients that you are now eating.
I won't say all the things we've made, but I will say 98% of what we've made.
It's really
I've
good,
actually
right?
really enjoyed those recipes. So, like I said, thank you for forcing me to make them because it
Hmm.
showed
Yeah,
me
Kim.
how much easier
Hmm.
it is than I thought it was, and that they really are pretty good. Like some of that stuff is
Yeah, and you
really
really don't
good.
have to point out to people like this is all vegan. After they eat it, maybe tell them. But
Yeah,
I mean, it
true.
doesn't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
I've made that mistake a couple times. I've taken dishes to dinners and told people ahead
Hmm.
of time. They're kind of like, meh. And then they taste it and they're like, wow. But you're right. I should just start carrying it in and putting it down. See what happens.
Yeah, it's so good. Yay! You can
Yay!
do it. I think it's so important that everyone's journey looks different.
Mm-hmm.
Yours doesn't have to look like everybody else's, but the important thing is just to start little. You don't have to literally vamp your whole diet all at once, but the things that you're consistently eating all the time, sometimes try to swap them out. Or like when people want to lean into veganism, I don't ever say do it all at once. I lean into it. Do 2 days a week. Do meatless Monday and then
Yes.
another day of the
Yes.
week, and
Yes.
do some lean into whatever it is. So if it's the no sugar or if it's the not drinking, start leaning into things and don't just
Yes.
go without. But
Right.
because
Because then you'll
I
feel
think that
deprived.
deprived, and also that inner child in me always
Yeah.
used to feel deprived, and then I would be even more pissed, and then so that when I would eat it again I would binge even worse because then I deprived myself. So
Exactly.
yeah, and that's why I think leaning in is the kindest way you could do it for
I
yourself.
think we could say that's our hashtag subtle change profound impact for the day too, Coach Dina.
Thank you. Yay.
Anyway, well, thank you so very
Thank
much. It's
you.
always fun to talk to you.
Yay, thank you.
And y'all, please give us a little follow and a share and save this video if you need to go back and reference it. Share it with your friends if there are people that you think are struggling with how to lean into being healthier. We appreciate your support so much. You
Yes.
can email us at litnnguest@gmail.com if you have any suggestions on things you'd like to hear from us, recipes to try, any of that stuff. We are here to help. Thank you so much, and
Thank you. Ciao for now.
bye, y'all. Join us here each week as we unpack life in the new normal with a new hashtag subtle change profound impact from Coach Dina. To get a little daily inspirational message in your social feed, follow us on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Copyright 2020 Angel Baby Films, all rights reserved. For entertainment purposes only.